There we go. So, a credit action plan is a tool. It is the entire, I guess, roadmap for your client because at the end of the day, they're really the ones that are responsible for the outcome, right? You can't be responsible for their outcome. They have to be responsible for their outcome. I learned this many years ago when they would always be calling me up. What are you doing? Why hasn't anything changed? And you ask them, hey, did you get the secured card? Did you do that? And they're like, no, you never told me to do that. I'm like, well, yes, I did. But we gave them so much information in that first call we had with them, they don't remember half of it. So they never remembered any of it. So it's really a tool that you're going to use to help them get the outcomes that they're looking to get. It replaces the guesswork. Without a credit action plan, pretty much every client call is going to be a mystery. That's a fact, right? They're just going to be on there going, what are you doing? That's their whole line of train of thought will always be about what are you doing to improve my credit instead of have they done the things that are necessary to improve their credit that they need to be doing while you're doing the things that you need to be doing. It will definitely reduce cancellations. Another side effect of a credit action plan, which is really amazing, is it completely stops chargebacks. That was a side effect. I think I have had, I don't know, in the last 17 years, two chargebacks. Once I did the credit action plan, that was since 2010, I guess, is when I started it. And prior to that, I would get chargebacks. People, you weren't communicating with them. They didn't know what they were supposed to do. They didn't do their part. We would just dispute. They wouldn't have results at the end of the day, and then they would charge back. So we would get chargebacks back in the day in the mid 2000s before we implemented this. So it definitely reduces your cancellation. It's going to help your in your retention because they understand what's going on. They know how many months it's going to take from the onset, and they don't feel like they're just lost in the process because that's really why they cancel, right? Because they're lost. They're not sure what's happening for the most part. So when I get a new client, the first thing that I do is I look through the credit report and I have a consultation with them. And before you do anything, you want to look at all of the different areas in the credit report, right? You want to look at the negative accounts. So we're going to start just filing things away in our brain as we look through this. As you get really good at this, it'll just become automatic in your head, right? So negative accounts, you're going to look at collection accounts. Are they paid? Are they unpaid collections? How old are they? Do we have charge-offs on the accounts from a furnisher that's not a third-party debt collection? Is it a zero balance or is it a charge-off that has a balance? These make a huge difference in plans. Late payments. Let's look and see when was the last late payment. That again is going to make a very big difference in their plan and what you tell them and the expectations that you're going to set from the beginning. So we're looking, do we have late payments in the last 24 months? What is the patterns of the late payments? We can learn a lot just by looking at the credit report. Public record, do we have any public records? Are there any BKs on there? That's the only public record now that actually shows up on a credit report is bankruptcies, be it chapter 13, 7, and different bankruptcies. Positive accounts. We're going to look at their positive accounts. What kind of open accounts do they have in good standing? What is the oldest account they have? What's the age of that? What kind of credit mix do they have? Do they have open revolving? Do they have installment as well? Do they have a good mixture of both of them? Let's look at the payment history patterns on all of those accounts as we start to do our first look through of the credit report. Credit utilization, to me, that's always first. We're going to go over these in detail, but credit utilization, obviously, huge swing on that. You can get a lot of points just by having them pay things down. So you always want to look and see where they're at. Make sure we're getting them at least under 30%, probably closer to 6%. That's going to maximize the credit report. And then we have special flags like date of first delinquency. That is what starts your 7-day clock, right? Not the date of last activity. A lot of people mess those up and get those confused. The date of first delinquency is what starts that 7-year clock. Date of last activity can be updated often with the debt buyers. It's allowed. That's okay to do. And that's where I think people get really confused on that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So duplicate accounts, there's all kinds of special flags. We're looking for student loan statuses. Are they in default? Are they just past due? Do they need to consolidate? There can be a lot of different things, but these are all the things you're looking at. You're like, what is actually on the report? Then you're going to start with your process, right? Then you're going to start building from that process. There's 5 steps that I do when I look and I start building a credit action plan for my clients. Number 1, I'm looking at the utilization ratio. I'm always going to look at that first. That's your biggest swing that you can get really good instant results for clients just by changing their utilization ratio. You can do that in a number of ways. You don't just have to have them pay things down. Maybe their scores are high enough and they can maybe up a limit. There's different things you can actually do for that, but you want to check that out first, and you want to then understand too, what is their goal? What are they trying to achieve? Because that's really going to change how you create action plans. Because if they have a goal for funding, it's going to be different than if they have a goal to get a mortgage or if they want to buy a car. So you're going to start thinking differently for what they're trying to achieve. So for utilization, we definitely want them under 30%. To maximize, you're going to want to get them to about 6%, and that's per FICO. I optimize for FICO 2, 4, and 5, which is mortgage. If I'm working with somebody with mortgage, I am not optimizing for Vantage score. So Vantage score may not change in the way that they think it should, but when you're talking to your clients and you set those expectations from the get-go with your clients, they understand, oh, she's not optimizing for Vantage, right? I'm being optimized for FICO 2, 4, and 5. So those scores start to become worthless to them. They're not score watching in the way that they were when you give the right expectation to begin with. Tell them to go ahead and pay that down before the statement close date, not the due date, to get it down a little faster. Give them a very specific dollar target. Don't just give them ranges. You have to be specific with clients in action plans. So in Credit Butterfly and the action plan that gets created inside of Credit Butterfly, it tells them exactly here when they look in their client portal, they see I need to pay $60 to this card, right? And to achieve my goal. And that's what you want. You want very specific instructions. Okay, account mix. This is the next thing I'm looking for. I'm immediately looking for, okay, what if they don't have any utilization ratio, right? What if they have nothing open? I want to make sure that they have at least 2 open revolving accounts and at least 1 installment account. If there's any gaps there, I am going to have them open line to fill and bridge the gap, because we have to have things reporting in order to create positive credit points. So if you have somebody that comes in and they're like a 400 and some score, all they have is negative items on their credit, there's no way for them to get a higher score until they put some positive items on the credit and they're making a payment on that. And then their score is going to bounce like fast, right? You will never have a happier client than somebody that's in the 400s. I love these clients. They are my favorite. Nothing open, 400 credit score, and I bounce them up usually 100 to 150 points within 45 days just by them following the instructions, and they're thrilled. They didn't even know. So you can use secured credit cards, you can use credit builders. If they have higher scores, I use Credit Karma. Not gonna lie, I go right on Credit Karma. Sometimes I have them pop right on Credit Karma and say, hey, go see what they're saying is a high choice, a good for you. They have a higher score and I don't want to give them a secured credit card. It's actually a good tool to use, and you might as well use it. Maybe there's an authorized user strategy. Maybe their file is so thin and they're trying to get a mortgage and you need to lengthen that file out. AU strategies are still work well for FICO 2, 4, and 5 because they don't factor them out. Whereas in the newer models, those get factored out. So you're just always thinking of all the different things that they could do. So that's my second thing that I do. I look to see what do they need to open, and I put that into their action plan. Collections and charge-offs. This is where we will do an advanced class on this. So I'm going to go not deep on this because we can really go down a rabbit hole on collections and charge-offs. You have to triage these by goals, and you also have to triage them by whether or not they have pay for deletes, whether they don't do a pay for delete, whether it's a collection account or a actual charge off from a furnisher. And I'm going to give you a little bit here so you can understand a little bit what I'm talking about, since that sounds a little vague. So say you have a collection, say you have somebody that came in with a mortgage and they want to get a mortgage. They have 90 days to get that mortgage. And they have a couple of collections on there that are within the last 24 months on their credit report. And they're like 500-600 bucks. They have to get their mortgage fast. You don't have time to be doing a lot of disputing or anything like that. So we know it's LV&V funding, and we know they're going to delete it if they pay it, right? We know for a fact it's getting deleted. It's their policy, right? IC Systems, there's a whole list of collection agencies that are going to delete as per their policy. So we know we can just go ahead and do a settlement and wipe them out. 24 months or within that 24-month period, that look back period that DU is looking for. So we know that's going to bump them up considerably. Now, on the flip side, if they have these collections that are sitting there and from LV&V funding, even though we know they're going to get deleted and they're 6 years old, am I even going to bother with them for a mortgage? Nope, probably not. I'm just going to leave them there. I don't even care. If they don't come off, I don't care, because they're so old, they're not really hurting the credit score. Now, on the flip side, you have charged off accounts. This is a furnisher. So when I'm talking about a collection, it's a third party debt buyer. When I'm talking about a charge off, I'm talking about a furnisher like Capital One, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, stuff like that, Credit One. Now, if I have one charge off on a credit report that's 6 years old with a balance of 120 bucks, and they're trying to get a mortgage, and that's the only charge off they have on there, I'm going to pay it, because all I have to do is pay that to a zero balance, and I'm going to bump the score up considerably. This is very hard for people to grasp. And the reason I know this is because I was a mortgage loan officer for 25 years. I have access to all the tools. When you pay off charge offs from original furnishers and they go to a zero balance, they do not have to be deleted. The score improves substantially only on FICO 2, 4, and 5. It's for mortgage. So if you learn that, this is something it'll make them think you have tricks. I promise you, because you can do all these little things. A loan officer will call me up and be like, Stephanie, I don't know what to do. And I did it one time. I said, hey, just pay off this $75 collection from like 6 years ago. They're like, well, that's just going to update it till later, and then the score is going to drop. I said, no, it's not. It's going to go up 75 points. One little thing, 75 points, boom, done. So these are the little tricks with lenders, especially, that will get you noticed and will get you a lot of referrals. So once you start learning how to review collections and charge-offs based on their goal, based on what they're trying to do, you will get better and better at creating the plans. The reporting clock we already talked about, settlements may be appropriate. So again, settlements, I don't know why it didn't. There's two more little pieces to this. So it just didn't come up on my slide for some reason. It's not showing. So there's a couple things. You also then are going to review for FCRA violations. Number one, every single report that comes in, you're going to review it for FCRA violations, because you're going to have them. They're on a lot of files. Out of every 100 files that you come across, you're going to have at least 7 to 10 violations that are just there naturally. Then, if you learn how to do an intake around FCRA, which is next week's class, we're going to be learning about the FCRA, and we're going to be learning how to identify those. If you learn how to do a proper intake, you can double that. And when you start doing settlements, you start creating these action plans, and your clients are doing settlements, and you're getting those settlement letters, and you're sending in those disputes. Those turn into violations a very good percentage of the time. So that's one thing. And settlements is really the fifth thing, right? The settlements themselves. You have to utilize settlements and action plans. If you're doing credit repair, I go ahead and dispute everything too. First, I do my disputes, I do my validations, I do my verification.
Hold on, what is it? Regular price is 25, or in the
Oh,
front is
can
$50.
you make sure you
Whatever
guys are
want.
on mute?
I guess. Hold
You
on.
prefer your cut in the front?
I think I have somebody still off mute. So I think I lost track of what I was talking about. So we'll go to the next slide. So I probably beat that.
And dispute as normal. That's what you were saying.
What?
You go ahead and dispute just like you normally would.
Oh, so disputing settlements and getting FCRA violations out of settlements, that's a huge way to make more money per client as well. So setting the client expectations, days, really the first month or two is when clients are going to cancel, usually. You ever do that? You sign a client up, they're all excited, you do the first round, and then the next month they just ghost you. It happens because they haven't seen anything, right? They didn't really get a one-on-one talk with you. They didn't get any kind of plan. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're just sitting there literally waiting because they just paid you money. So they're just sitting there waiting for things to be deleted off their credit report. That is what you don't want them to do, right? You don't want them just sitting there wondering what you're doing. We want to put them on a plan, give them that plan right from the beginning, make sure they have a copy that they can log into their portal. They can see that plan and they're working on their plan. That's what you're following up on. So your conversation becomes incredibly different now with the client. So when you do your monthly follow up with them, it's not about, hey, this is what got deleted or this is what happened. I don't ever talk about deletions with my clients. It's not even a topic with my clients. They know they're doing what they're supposed to do. All my clients have been giving me reports on what they're doing. That's where you want to be. You're in the driver's seat. You gave the good advice. You told them, here, these are the things you need to do. They're doing it, and then you're doing your part and you're supporting it. That's what I consider myself. I'm supporting everything that they're doing because the only person that can really improve their credit is them. And once you realize that, it frees you. You're not worried, you're not freaking out. Oh my God, nothing got deleted. You don't ever have to worry about it because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking just to get the thing that they want. They want the house, right? It doesn't matter. Maybe nothing gets deleted, but you changed everything on their credit report and they're able to get their house. That's what truly matters. So with the credit action plan, this is just like a little thing. It says, here's where we are on your plan. You're in the negative removal phase. Here's what we submitted. Here's what came back. Here's what's next. Your score will start moving once we resolve these two accounts. That's on track for week 8, whatever. Just make, however is comfortable for you to say. But for me, I always include in there, let me know, we had this on your action plan. Have you completed this? Right? If I don't see it on the report, if I don't see that secured credit card, if I don't see that they've paid down their stuff, I'm going to ask them about it because then again, it shifts the burden over to them. So we always want to talk to the client right from the get-go about reasonable things, right? Realistic timelines. We're not guaranteeing any kind of specific score. Never, ever guarantee a score. You have to just guarantee that you're going to do, as long as they follow their action plan, you're going to do the things that you need to do, and they are going to get results. I personally can guarantee results for every single client I have, as long as they follow their action plan. Because I'm not like a magician. I can't magically make their score perfect. They can, though. All right, so scores can dip sometimes before they go up, and that's really usually doesn't happen, but it can if they haven't added positive accounts when you've told them to, and they have no open positive accounts, and you start removing some negative accounts, it could actually go a little bit lower until they get those positive accounts on there. So that's why it's very important that they do those things immediately so that they can start building the positive points. Late payments, obviously, during the process, you need to explain that to them. Late payments will undermine every single thing that you're doing on their credit. So if they paid late, they need to understand right from the get-go. I tell every one of my clients, hey, a single 30-day late payment on FICO 2, 4, and 5, you're trying to get a house, is a 100-point hit. All right? It's a 100-point hit. And if you're late, we start back from scratch. There's nothing we can do about that. And another thing when you're doing your action plan is you need to give them a realistic timeline. In that timeline, you're going to go look at the last time they were 30 days late on an account. You want at least, before they can get a mortgage, you're going to want at least 12 months of clean history, preferably 24 months. But at least the last 12 months, there's no late payments because it's a much bigger hit on FICO 2, 4, and 5 if they're trying to purchase a home than it is on Vantage 3.0. So you might have a Vantage 3.0 score that says 700 or 690, and then you have a FICO that's 610 or 605 because of the recency and the late. Vantage does not give the same type of deduction for that as FICO 2, 4, and 5 does. So that's an important piece when you're talking to the clients to begin with. So every month, they're going to know exactly where they stand when they have a credit action plan because you're going to update that credit action plan every single month. All right, as they go through the process. This keeps them engaged, it keeps your retention, and that's what you want. And it's faster. I know you guys probably don't want faster, but when you're doing FCRA violations and things like that, I mean, you can just be knocking them out. You could just knock out those violations as you go and be making an extra $500 on top of your regular credit repair as well. And they get money, and so they're happy. All right, so let's just look at this scenario right here, and let's just talk it through. So Maria is 34. She wants to buy a home in 12 months. Her current credit scores are 541, 538, and 555. So she has 3 collection accounts. 1 is paid to 0, 2 are unpaid. And their portfolio recovery and LVNV funding are the 3 accounts. All right. She has 1 charge off, Capital One charge off with a $1,247 balance, which is reporting on Equifax and TransUnion only. She has 2 late payments on a current auto loan, 30 days late, which was 18 months ago. She has 1 secured credit card with a $500 limit with a $410 balance with 82% utilization. And an auto loan is the only installment account that she has, that open auto loan that has the 2 late payments from 18 months ago. And she has no mortgage history. So let's talk about this is how I would do it. And then you guys can give me some input on things you might do. But this is what I would do. So portfolio recovery, the one that's 0, that is their policy already. I know that they delete if it's a 0 balance. So I can get this deleted without any problem. This I know. That's not even a problem for me because that's their policy. They're going to delete it when it's settled. Now, LVNV funding, unpaid. This will depend what I do. I will probably send debt validation letters. I do get results doing that, even though it's way past the time. I get plenty of deletions that way. So I am going to go ahead and send a debt validation letter. I'm not going to have her pay them right away or do anything like that. And I'm going to wait and see what happens from that. Again, with portfolio recovery, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to send a debt validation letter. Now, there's one thing, if she told me, hey, I have to get this loan in 90 days, right? Maybe I don't have time for that. And these are new, brand new ones. Maybe they're new. Maybe they're within the last 12 months. And she's got to get this mortgage really fast. And I know that's fast. Let's just go ahead and have you settle them then and get rid of them because I know they're all going to be deleted. And that's going to clear up a lot of her issues right there. That's only if she's doing something really fast and she doesn't have time. If I have time, I'm going to go through my other process. So do you see how I start to make these judgment calls as I go? So I'm just thinking about what we're doing, and if they're really old, I'm just going to leave them alone. I'm going to dispute them. I'm going to leave them alone. I'm not going to worry too much about it, right? Capital One charge off. If she's going for a mortgage, every single time, no matter what, I'm having her pay this. I'm going to have her settle it. Any open charge off with a balance, I'm having them settle if they need a mortgage. If I can't get it off any other way, it's going to get settled because this will make a big difference. It also makes a big difference when DU is looking at the file for that automated approval. It's going to matter. Those charge offs are heavily factored. The auto loan late payments. I am not going to dispute that account. This is an open auto account. I'm not disputing it. They're 18 months old. I'm really not that worried about them. By the time, if she has 6 months, by the time she's out of my program in 6 months, it'll be 2 years and it's going to be okay. I'm not going to risk getting the entire auto loan removed because she needs that auto loan on there. And it's already enough in the past. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Phase two, secured credit cards, right? I'm going to have her pay it down, right? Before the statement close date, because you remember it was 82% or something like that. We want to get it down as low as we possibly can. And I don't want her getting any new credit inquiries. I'm also going to have, if there's possibly, I will put in the credit builder loan. She does have an auto loan, so I'll make that judgment call based on everything that I see on the credit report. A good mix is good. We always want a good mix. And then again, I'm going to be coaching her on time payments every month, no exceptions. We're going to look at the authorized user opportunity if scores are still low. So that's towards the end of it. So as you get closer, because she doesn't have a lot of history, it's probably a pretty thin file. An authorized user account might be a good way to go because you can add length to the credit history. We can add thickness to that file. So I'm going to have her go say, hey, go find a family member or a friend that has a credit card they've had for 10 years plus with a high limit, low balance. Add it on. That will help because that place still works in FICO 2, 4, and 5 for mortgage. It will help the score immensely. I actually closed loans where they only had that. They only had an authorized user account, if you can believe it. 700 credits were actually just went right through, sailed right through DU. I couldn't even believe it. I was shocked myself. But that's a good way to add length to the credit history if it's really slim. Toward the end, again, we talked about it already. We're going to decide those settlements on the portfolio and LVNV because we know those are going to get deleted. Now, if I have another collection agency that is one that doesn't do a pay for delete, and I'm not touching it unless it's within the last 24 months. If it's in the last 24 months, I will still pay it whether they delete it or not. But if it's past 24 months, I'm not touching it.
Stephanie,
Yep.
would you ever suggest somebody?
For paid trade lines?
Yes.
So no, I wouldn't do that for mortgage if they're trying to get a mortgage because that just sort of sets them up for mortgage fraud because they don't have access to the credit card when they buy a trade line and they're only on for a short period of time. So there's some case law and precedent set for that. So when you're going in for a mortgage and you just get something that goes on to lift the credit score just for a short period, it's not the best thing. Is more leans towards mortgage fraud. So no, I go the authorized user route with a family member or friend. You can stay pretty safe with that. But the paid trade lines, I personally just stay away from.
Thank you.
Albert, I know you had a question.
Real quick, Vanta 4, if they're using, for instance, rental history, then the utility history, and then, for instance, not to turn a curveball into this, but say they're late, the landlord, which was a day late, marked them late, or the mail screwed up utility bills, paid a day late. How do you deal with that?
Well, it just really depends. So for one thing, most of the rental ones, they don't report lates. Just so they only report good positive history. They don't report any negative history. That I learned from one of the rental places one time. I was like, really? You don't report anything? And they're like, nope, they only report positive. So it's like, but if they're going for mortgage, we're talking about mortgage here. Those have no bearing on FICO 2, 4, and 5 because they're not even factored into the model. Rental history, utility payments, Experian Boost, all that kind of stuff doesn't even factor into FICO 2, 4, and 5 because it's too old of a model.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. So for me, this is how I do it every single time. I start with utilization 100% of the time. You are always going to get your biggest swing from that if they have high utilization. I'm going to check my account mix. I'm going to make sure they have the right mix and that they have length of credit history too. I'm going to triage my collections and my charge-offs by their goal. It's going to depend on how much time they have to hit the goal, how old everything is. There's a lot to do in this one. That's an advanced class that we will do just on collections and charge-offs, which we will do for the whole hour because it's an advanced class. I'm going to review for FCRA violations on every single file that comes in the door because I like to get cases and there's plenty of cases to get. I have filed now in the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, 7 cases, and I have almost no active clients, you guys. I don't even do credit repair. It's like crazy. I just am finding cases everywhere, and I barely even have active clients. So settlements, again, goal dependent, not automatic. You just don't settle everything. You have to be smart and you have to be strategic in how you settle things. So homework for you guys is to pull a client file, build an action plan using the 5-step framework, and then identify which phase they're in and write it down and share the plan with your client before their next check-in. You will notice a huge difference if you just do this, even if it's something simple, even if it's something you put together. If you use my software, then you already have access to a plan. Some people use other softwares that do these plans. Whatever you do, these plans really make a difference in your business. And then when we come to next week, we're going to do FCRA next week, actually, which it's going to be FCRA fundamentals, which kind of goes into this as well. So when you guys come next week for the FCRA fundamentals, do bring something that you got out of this week's class because all these classes build on each other week to week, the way we have these set up now. Connie, what's your question?
My question, I have 2 questions. One is, how do you build? You have a software that builds that the client action plan, or you just go by your experience?
So for me, Credit Butterfly actually does part of that for you. It does the utilization ratio for you. It determines whether or not you need a secured credit card. It determines if you need a credit builder. It's going to tell you if it's going to put it right in the plan if the student loans either past due or they need a rehab program, they're in default. It's going to recognize things like that automatically for you. So it does part of the job for you. And then all you have to do is just tweak it to however you want it. And that's
credit monitoring.
You can do that. So I would do, if you want to see what the software does, just book a demo with me and I'll show you. You can book a demo with me at creditbutterfly.ai. I'll put it in the chat. And then Tyree, you have a question?
Yes, Stephanie, I got 2 questions. I know one of them may not be really specific for this class because this is an overview class. But the first one I was going to ask was, is there a list that you have for these agencies like LVNG?
Oh, for the deletions?
If you pay the
A
settlement?
pay for delete list?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it in the chat right now.
Thank you. And then the second one, I know this one might be. So with the action plan that's in Credit Butterfly, will 2.0 give you the ability for your client to print that list like in CRC where they get, when you're doing the consultation, you can give them like printable PDF version?
In fact, we're coming up, everything will be goal based in the new version that's coming out in the next 60 days. So you'll be able to pick mortgage, funding, goal, whatever it is. So if you pick mortgage, then you will be able to actually email it to the client from there. They'll be able to see it in their portal from there. You'll be able to email it, and it's going to give them not only their action plan, but it's also going to build the exact action plan for the CRO. All of that data that we just talked about, which is very complicated, right? It's going to build that for you so that here's the things you should be starting with. These are the things you should be looking at. These are the things you need to do in order to hit this goal and this timeline.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yep, you're welcome. Jeff?
Is there any way that I can join the notes? I joined late today.
Oh, you know what? I recorded it. It's being recorded. So
I saw that. That'd be amazing.
So you'll be able to view it on YouTube. We send it out. Since you registered, you'll get an email with the recording as well, the link to the recording.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Karita?
Hi, Stephanie. Quick question. As you know, I'm new at all of this. Just launched my company or what have you, but I have a couple of clients already in my pipeline. Would you suggest that I run their credit profile through the software right now, or?
So the people that you have. Yeah, so do you use software right now?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you have a credit repair software you're using right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna go high level on Dispute Box,
Oh, and
but
you're
as
using
for
Dispute
the
Box.
FCRA violations, would you suggest that I can run it through your software?
So Credit Butterfly just is a full Dispute Fox or anything like that, or Credit Repair Cloud. So you don't need both, you just need one. But yes, you could go get a free trial and just run them through.
Got it. Thank you.
So you guys, for sure, I think Jeff and Connie were done with their questions. All right, let me just check the chat really quick for any questions I might have missed. So Albert had asked, is Vantage 4 more accurate with real-time reporting versus FICO? Everything is basically accurate or not accurate based on the model. All models are different, and so different models are for different things. So it's not more or less accurate, if that makes sense. Do you do validation letters for charge-offs? Gino asked that. No, debt validation letters are only for third-party collectors, not for furnishers. Okay. And I think I answered James earlier. For me, Cynthia, what's considered a good credit mix? I always want to make sure there's at least 2 revolving and 1 installment. Even more is probably a little better, but if somebody's coming in with 0, I just make sure they get to that basic threshold. The software, Ryan, in answer to your question, the software monthly for Credit Butterfly is just depends on how many active clients you have. So if you have 100 or less active clients, then it is $197 per month. And it includes everything, all CROA compliant agreements. It includes action plans that are all free and the FCRA tracker so that you can find violations. Andy, you asked a question, do you take payments? What do you mean by that? Do you take payments? I don't know if you're still here. I'm not sure. If you're meaning, do we take payments for settlements and things like that for them? No, we don't do that.
I think he said payment processing. Is the software set up for that? For the client?
Credit
The monthly-
Butterfly? I'm not sure what that was referring to. What do you do for charge
Yes,
off?
Stephanie, I meant, do you accept them, like CRC accepts payments? Do you accept payments, or would I have to get my own?
Oh, can you put in
Can you
charge
charge the
clients through
client?
the system?
Yes.
No. You just
Okay.
have to have your own separate merchant account. We'll be adding that next year, but it's not in there yet, but it's coming. But I would say just you can just use a third party crypt or something like that. And you can set recurring payments. Ryan asked for charge off / collection that's been closed for 2 years, but still reporting. Should you dispute or pay $5K if there's no time rush? So again, you have charge off / collection, Ryan. So just be more specific. Is it a charge off of a furnisher or is a collection with a third party debt collector? Those are 2 separate things. I know it always says charge off / collection, but really they're 2 different things. A charge off is an original furnisher and a collection is with a third party debt buyer. So if you're still here, if you can answer that, it depends. Now, for me, if it's a collection agency and it's been closed for 2 years, and it's not going to hurt my mortgage, it's not going to hurt their DTI too much, and it's not going to be a big problem, I'll leave it if it's over 2 years old and it's not hurting too much. Or maybe if it's right at that cusp and it's $5K and it's a third party debt collector and they have to get some points in order to get their mortgage still, and I'm stuck, then maybe I'll have them go settle it. I'm always going to do what's going to cost the client the least amount of money. So if I can leave it there, I'll leave it. If it's a charge off and it's within that, right in that 2-year period, and it's got the thing, I'm probably going to have them do it if they really need to if they can't get an approval, because that's probably going to kick them over where they're going to get their approval. Because DU does not like unpaid charge offs, especially for 5K that are pretty recent. Have a great weekend, you guys, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Enjoy your weekend, Stephanie.